I'm Una Alexander, and if we don't know each other yet, I help you radically love your child or your children to happiness and great behavior. And one of the things that I find is like the silver lining in this time that we're this challenging time that we're all facing, is that when I open my window, I can hear the bird song in the street. I don't hear the traffic going past, I hear the bird song. So I've actually left the window open a little bit. So you might be able to hear it too, and I do hope they don't come and pick up the skip that's opposite during our conversation. And yes, so my street is in Kings Langley, in a village in Hertfordshire. And I'd love to know in the comments where you're watching from, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the replay. It'd be really nice to hear from you. So I've got some handy notes here, so I may be looking down every now and again. And so the reason I'm doing this live is because I actually asked my community of parents what they were struggling with right now. And you may be one of the ones who wrote in or contacted me. And there were kind of two areas of struggle. And one of them, and this is what I'm going to be focusing on today, is around difficult feelings that are coming up in this current challenging situation. So our children's difficult feelings, upset or anxiety around not being able to go to school and everything being topsy-turvy. And also our own worry as parents that we may not be measuring up as teachers. Our children may be falling behind. They may not be able to slot back into school so easily. And all the things that we can worry about as parents. And so what I'm going to be sharing today is 3 approaches to help children with upset and difficult feelings of all kinds, really. And then we're going to look at why good techniques like positive thinking and breathing and things that we read about and learn about don't always work, and how you can help them work better. And then we're going to be looking at the difference between feelings and stories, and why it's important to kind of distinguish between the two. And then I'm also going to share a personal real life story to illustrate that, and how I helped myself to resolve a kind of tricky situation. So first of all, a little word about emotions and feelings. So anxiety or upset, obviously, it's an emotion, it's a feeling. And here's the thing about emotions. We tend to like the nice ones. Again, I'm the same. We're all like that. We like kind of feeling joyful. We like feeling happy. We like feeling calm maybe sometimes. We like feeling excited maybe. But we're not so keen on the other, feelings at the other end of the scale. We're not so keen on feeling sad, or we're not so keen on feeling worried, or we're not so keen on feeling shame, vulnerability, all those feelings that are the other end of the spectrum, so jealousy even. And so we also tend to not really like it when our children are in those feelings. And, some of us, and it may be the case for you, that you're open to this idea about it's good for children to express feelings, and you're all with them when they have, your child has an anger outburst or something. But some of the other feelings that are maybe a bit more uncomfortable than simple anger, not that there's anything simple about anger, but we've kind of got, okay, it's quite good for them to have an anger outburst, but I don't like it when my child is anxious. I don't like it when my child expresses jealousy, or, that kind of thing. So, and I get that. Who wants to have their child be anxious? I'm the same. We don't want it. But, and here's the really kind of key learning in a way that I want to share with you today. Feelings are more the bodily part. Emotion is more the kind of, things like anxiety or vulnerability or whatever, the emotional part. Feelings and emotions just want to be felt. Do you see? They want to be experienced. That's like their kind of mission purpose in life. And sometimes they have a message for us, a really important message they want us to listen up to. And so when we try and make those feelings go away, whether in ourselves or in our children, we kind of try to persuade our children of another way of thinking so that the feeling will go away, we're not allowing that feeling to be felt. And what we resist persists. It's a kind of law of nature, really. What we resist persists. So the way to help children with their difficult feelings is not to try and persuade them not to have them. It's actually kind of the opposite. And it may sound paradoxical, but it's about allowing them to experience those feelings and those emotions more fully. So here's what you can do if your child is really upset or anxious about school having been cancelled for now. We don't know when they're going back, or when you know, even if they do go back, you may not feel safe about sending your child back. And, you know, no clubs, no friends, you know, and for some children this is a really big deal. And so I promised 3 ways, and so we're going to dive in now. So the first way is to show your child that you understand about their upset or their anxiety. Be with them in it. Express to them that you're with them in it. You're kind of, you kind of accept and embrace that feeling for now. And it's not about, accepting that it's going to be there forever, because it won't. But it's about, like, for now, I totally get that you're really missing school and you do not understand why the whole world has been turned on its head, and you hate that coronavirus. You don't want to hear the adults talking about it. And I totally understand how much you miss your friends, and that having me as teacher is just not cool. Whatever your child is expressing, so make it appropriate for them, yeah? And so this is empathy, isn't it? And it's different to sympathy. So it's not, oh, poor you, I'm so sorry that you're going through this difficult thing. It's empathy. It's a very grounded thing. I hear what you're saying. I'm here with you. You need to kind of tune into channel your inner Earth Mother, if that means anything to you. If it doesn't, just forget it. But, you know, you're really solid. You're with them. You're not being swept along by the feeling, but you're big enough to hold them and to hold their feeling there. And what happens then is that your child experiences that you get it. And that's such a relief. They actually, and the next step is they don't have to keep going on about it so much, because you've got it. Do you see what I mean? You've got it, so they can kind of let go of it a little bit. It's like, oh, she's finally understood my feelings. Oh, perhaps I don't need to kind of repeat it every day, 3 times a day or whatever. And the emotions tend to diminish. And so that's the first one, yeah? Empathy, you got that. So the second one is more about the feelings. That was more about the emotion. It's never kind of completely separate, but you know what I mean. More about the feeling counterpart, which is experience in the body. And there always is a feeling counterpart. And some people, whether little people or big people, are more or less, in tune with this feeling bodily part of it, this sensation part of it. And I was talking to a mum the other day who's saying her daughter was feeling all these feelings in her tummy. And I totally get that. And that's actually a wonderful gift in a way to her mum, that she's talking about that, because the next step for this mum would be to talk to her daughter about those feelings. We talk about a lump in the throat, or a stone on your heart, or stone in your stomach, or we're seeing red. These are all these kind of sensations that we have that are like the bodily correspondence to the emotion. So what you can do if your child is expressing that, or even if they're not, so if they they don't have that awareness, or they haven't talked about it yet, you can say, where are you feeling it in your body? Are you feeling it here? And you can even use your hand. Are you feeling it here? Or are you feeling it here? Or is it kind of like here or whatever? And then help them, gently see how much responsiveness you get, and help them gently to kind of then experience what that sensation is. So you might ask them questions like the following. And I wonder how big it is. Is it kind of like, as big as a cereal bowl, or is it as big as a school bag, or as big as a car? This feeling, and how heavy is it? Is it about as heavy as a little conker, or a bag of flour, or a sack of potatoes? Is it that heavy? And is it moving? Does it feel like wriggly worms or popping bubbles, or does it maybe feel like? Sometimes these feelings can feel like, the way the bath drain, when the bath drains, the water drains out of the bath, it can feel like draining away. I get that feeling sometimes. It feels like draining feeling, or it may feel like a big stone, sitting there. And so, or what if it had a colour, what colour would it be? And so you can chat your child through it, If they respond, if they're going with it, great. If they don't, nothing lost, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And it's about becoming really curious and helping your child to feel those feelings. And feelings that are felt tend to diminish. Okay? Got that? So the third way now is, it's interesting. Some time ago I was talking to a mum whose daughter was about 5, I think. Yeah, about 5. Who was very worried, but she was also very self-aware and articulate, and she was aware that she was worried. She was aware of her worries, and she would say things like, sometimes my worry says this, or my worry thinks this. Again, this is a bit of a gift for you if your child is doing something like that, because you can say, so you can respond to that in this way. You can say, can I have a conversation with your worry? And if your child's, up for that, you can say, oh, hello, are you Caitlin's worry? And hopefully they'll respond. And then you can have a kind of conversation directly with their worry. It's a kind of role play, but it's real, if you know what I mean. And then just have a really honest conversation with their worry. Ask the worry, okay, so you're Caitlin's worry, happy to meet you. I'm so delighted to meet you. Could you tell me what you're worried about? And then have this conversation and talk your child through and use, step number 1 that I shared with you above about empathy. Oh, that does sound scary. Oh, aha, you're worried about that. I get it. Okay. And, after you've done quite a lot of that empathizing, genuine empathizing, empathy tends to work best if it's really genuine, or in a way one could say it only really works if it's really sincere and genuine. Then you can problem solve a bit with your child's worry and say things like, so tell me, Caitlin's worry, is there anything that might help? Is there anything that Caitlin could do that might help with this? And see what comes. And even if nothing comes as a kind of problem solving next step or whatever, the fact is that you've had a conversation with the worry, you've taken it seriously, and this is so key, this is so big, this allows the worry to have an outlet, to have a listening ear, and to be experienced. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. So we had empathy, we had being curious about the bodily sensations, and we had having a conversation with the worry or the upset or the anxiety. Great. So let me see. Oh yeah, so once you've done these things, then you can move on to the next steps, things that you may have been doing before that weren't so effective, like positive thinking or breathing, if you'd like to, if you feel that would be helpful. But by doing the above, what I've just taught you through, you will have created an openness, a space to do those things, and they will be more effective for you now, okay? And they often don't work on their own because there's all this feeling in the way that just kind of bats them away. They just can't get close, okay? But with this, you'll help to diminish the feelings, and you'll have more success. And also, just to say, as a little kind of PS on that, you probably will diminish the feelings, but it's important not to go in with the purpose of diminishing them, because they don't want to be diminished. They want to be heard and experienced and felt. Okay? So then I promised you that I would say a little bit about some worries you may have been having, and about maybe your abilities as a teacher and so on, or how is it going to be for your child when they go back to school. And so first of all, just to say, I advise all of the above for yourself. Listen to your own emotions, experience your own sensations, and have a little chat with your worries. Okay, and then, and this is really important, then differentiate. Differentiate between the feelings or emotions and the story that you're telling yourself about it. So, it's natural to feel a bit overwhelmed in the current climate. It's natural to feel disappointed if you feel you didn't manage to teach your child something, or they got stuck and you couldn't help them. But what tends to happen is that we don't just feel that natural kind of disappointment or overwhelm or whatever, or fear even about the current situation, but we tend to make up stories about it too. So we tell ourselves things like, my child will find it really, really hard when they go back to school again, because they won't have seen their friends for all that time. They may have, lost touch with them, or they won't know how to play anymore. They will have fallen behind. Other parents are doing much better with this kind of whole school at home thing. They're making much faster progress, and my child will suffer, and it's all my fault. And, their children will be okay. And so, do you see? And it may not be exactly those stories for you, but you may have a kind of sense of where your stories tend to go to. And the thing about these stories is that they make us feel really bad, and they feel totally true. And that actually is the definition of a kind of story. A story in this sense is that if it makes you feel really bad and you totally believe it to be true, then it is what I call a story. Yeah, it's something that we have made up. I do this as well. We all do it. It's like part of the human condition, because we're meaning makers. And the thing about these stories is that they add to our suffering. So I was saying before, it's natural to feel disappointment or overwhelm, whatever. But if we make up the stories, we literally compound the suffering. It grows, it kind of almost exponential. With stories, it's kind of like there's no end to it. Because we can't get out of the stories. And I was reminded recently of the kind of the theory of the two arrows. It's apparently a Buddhist idea that, life will bring bad things, if you like, for us. Life will bring some bad things. And that's like the first arrow, like your child is upset or your child is missing school or whatever. And that's like the first arrow. And, it's natural to feel some pain around that. But then we send the second arrow to ourselves with the story and the suffering that ensues from that. So I hope that makes sense to you. But in case it doesn't, I'm going to round off with a story from my own experience, quite a recent, quite a raw story actually, of something bad that happened to me. So recently, not kind of 3 or 4 weeks ago, I ran a webinar for another community of parents. So not my own, not you guys, but for another community. And it went great. It went really well, got a lot of lovely feedback, and I had a few conversations with parents afterwards. These were really great as well, made some really good connections and so on. But so far, no one signed up to work with me. And this has actually never happened to me in my whole kind of history of running, online classes, webinars. And I started this about kind of 4 or 5 years ago. And I have to admit that I didn't just feel the slight pain of kind of like business dipping, or do you know what I mean? That kind of like, oh yeah, this wasn't a great week for business or whatever. I got into the story of, I must have done something wrong. Maybe I'm, this is really bad. Let me see, what else did I say to myself? Yeah, this shouldn't have happened. I must have done something wrong. And it kind of made me feel so so bad in a way that, you know, last week, although I'd planned to do a Facebook Live for you guys, I didn't do it because I kind of made myself the excuse that, I was just feeling bad. And you know, so it actually impacted on my ability to help you, to serve you. And fortunately not my clients, I did show up in a really good way for them. But, you know, I got in a bit of a thing. And I lost touch with the heartbeat of my business, which is showing up for you, helping, serving, and kind of, you know, just doing all the things that I need to do to keep things going. And this is what fulfills me. And at a certain moment, I realized what I've been doing. I realized that it was a story. I realized that there are, natural fluctuations. It didn't actually mean anything. All it just means is that I'm in business and things go up and down. And, you know, that it's time to focus again on what's important to me, what lifts me up, like speaking with you, like speaking with my clients, like sharing in posts on Facebook or showing up in groups, serving and helping people. And I immediately felt so much better, and also felt this kind of new strength as well, to do with having overcome that and realize, it's that one again. Yeah, we never kind of overcome it once and for all, but it's that one again. So I hope that helps you. So if you're stuck in a story about, your child is, because I know for some children, they just don't want to go back to school ever. My child is never going to want to go back to school. How are we going to solve this? Or the gap will have been so long. They have to get used to it all over again. Thank you so much for the thumbs up. And if you are appreciating this, do give me a heart, give me a thumbs up, because that's just so nice. And also it helps, Facebook share this if you found it of value with others, so that they get to hear this stuff. So what the thing about stories is that they can derail us from what's really important. And what is important for you, I'm guessing now, but I'm imagining it's showing up in full presence for your children, nurturing them, connecting with them, providing safety, being a vessel of love, and all those things. And if we're worried, I did that wrong, or I didn't do that good enough, or I should have done this, we're not really there for the very people we care most about. Like I wasn't there for my business in a way, and for you, last week when I kind of got stuck in this. So I hope that's been really helpful. Just looking to see if there's anything else I want to share. Yeah, just finally to say, if this has touched you, if this feels helpful and you'd like to take it further into a one-to-one conversation with me as to how I could help you further, or to help you understand your children better in this time, or just generally, then let's talk. I'd love to speak with you. And I make available every month a few free conversations. So these are Zoom video calls. Everyone's on Zoom in these times. And we can talk about these things and talk about everything that's coming up for you that's challenging, your child's difficult feelings, and anything that's coming up for you that's challenging as well. And give you that listening ear so that these feelings can diminish. And if that sounds like a supportive, positive next step, then do send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Or you can go straight to my website, unaalexander.co.uk, and click on the Let's Talk tab, or just put /Let's Talk into your Let's-Talk into your browser. And yeah, you can choose a slot and we can get together on a call and really connect one-to-one. So lovely speaking with you. Thank you to those who've been here live. It's been really nice to know that you're there. And yeah, lots of love to you. Stay well, stay safe, and be happy. Bye.